Okay, now I was reminded this is not the classroom. Okay, so this is you asked for it, right? And when Kathleen sent me a text message about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she said, Pastor Rob really wanted to know if you could speak this evening, and I'm incredibly humbled. Everybody in this room could. You have something from God to share that we could all glean off of, absolutely every one of you. And so she said, you asked for it was, can you lose your salvation? So, I mean, I don't always immediately respond back. I said, Kathleen, I can't talk about can you lose your salvation. I said, Pastor Rob, you need to tell him he needs to do that, because I don't, I know Romans chapter 8. Nothing will separate me from the love of God which is in Christ Jesus. And I became a born-again believer because God's opinion means something to me, and when I mess up, and I do every day, it really bothers me. So that's my internal proof of God must really matter. But you asked for it, and you want me to talk about can you lose your salvation? We could watch a movie, we could, Ray Comfort could probably talk about that, but you don't want me to do that. And she said, well, hold on a second. So then she sent me a text, and she gave me a message to talk about tonight that I'm really, really excited about because it's incredibly practical. And it's something that I think we can all use in our own lives. But remember, life is not about you. Life is about somebody else. And you really do fit in when you make something happen for someone else. The lust of other things is so consuming. If it's about you, you'll never be satisfied because you're just going to want more. But the topic tonight is really exciting, so I believe it's going to really help each and every one of us. But during the icebreaker, there is a question here. There's not a question on my icebreaker. Oh, I was on the wrong side. Okay. What is one fear you would like to conquer? One fear. Anybody? If there's a fear that you wish you could conquer. Yes? The fear of pain? You mean the fear of pain is going to happen and what? Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big one. I deal with that. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Absolutely. Losing your job. I mean, that's huge. One last, I guess? Yes. Yep. Messing up so bad that, hey, man, I can't believe you just did that. I can't believe that again and again and again. And that's where you really have to renew your mind based upon God's word. Because God is the God of hope, but that's real. Am I ever going to make the mistake where I can't recover from the mistake? So how that blends into what we want to talk about this evening, and I do have a video that isn't going to be the whole time, but whether it's children or people in your life, it's really important that we feel like we're depositing into others. And I said a little bit earlier, that creates your value. Can you create change? So if you wanted to mentor someone into something, what would you like to put into them? Or if you could rewind the clock a little bit, you could be a mom or a dad all over again. What would you do a little bit differently that you think would really, truly prepare them for life? Baseball games and all of the sporting events, and when they're really cute and, they mess up the way that they say words, and then you say them the same way they do it. Cute is really awesome. But, cute eventually goes away because they grow up, right? So I think all of us as parents really wish I would have put a little bit more of X, Y, and Z into them. Because most of the lives that we live are lives in our adulthood. So what would we do differently? Okay? I saw this picture this afternoon, and I really liked it because it's obviously an older couple. I assume that they're a couple, they're holding hands. They don't seem to be mad at one another. But you can tell by looking at it, are they walking toward more of their future, or is most of their future behind them? Whereas it's behind them, right? I mean, you can tell by looking at the picture. So I'm sure that they have had conversations on, you know what? Knowing what I know now, what are some of the things that I would have done differently? Because most of their life is behind them. Now, there is a way that they could capture, the moments of being young and to be youthful, and that's to sow the things that they've learned and to train others that picture doesn't apply to them, because back here, there could be a little boy and a little girl holding hands and walking. Now, most of their life is here, but most of their life is behind them. So as we raise our children, as we mentor others, I think we have to reevaluate how we've done it. One of our grandkids won a championship. Crazy excited. They beat a team they shouldn't have beaten. And this little guy does pretty good. And I guess in the league you can have him pitch a few more innings. So they said of my grandson to his parents, do you mind if he just keeps pitching? And, my son said, sure. But when the team won the trophy, he was excited about winning the trophy, but he was also excited about his accomplishments because he did something to get it. Then we have another grandson who always gets participation trophies. And when you see a picture of him, his expression is way different than the one who really felt like he earned it. We rip off people when we spend time talking about what is your heart's desire? What are you passionate about? What drives you? What motivates you? I mean, unless you're a whole bunch different than every time people ask me that, I was just interested in, I think I'm hungry right now, or I don't know what's on TV tonight, I really wasn't motivated that way. And I'm going to show you a little clip by Mike Rowe, who is the guy from Dirty Jobs. And I don't know that much about him. I watched the show before, but he says something that is really, really, really interesting. And we're talking this evening about raising up your children, but even beyond that, mentoring people. And I'd like us to reevaluate what we do to the people we're mentoring or how we're raising our kids. Okay, so if we can show this clip. And I'm going to break this down a little bit, just to get us to think a little bit differently. But there's always an opportunity when you're solving a problem. When you go to a restaurant because you're what? You're hungry. If there's a certain type of food that's on their menu that you really like, what draws you in? It's the food. If you can satisfy a need, and if you choose to be really good at it, then what follows? What follows then? Passion follows. Passion follows serving. Passion follows solving a problem. A livelihood follows solving a problem. It's awesome to be passionate. But passion is somewhat vaporous. When you fell in love with someone, and then you sit down and they say, write down all the reasons why you love them. After 4 or 5 men, you just start making up stuff because you don't want to look bad. Well, it's because God puts it in your heart. I don't know, but I'm driven. I'm motivated. I want to spend my life with this person. It's something that is very vaporous, but it happens when you're serving and solving a problem and you're determined to be the best. And then passion follows it. Before we get into the message this evening, I'd also like to greet everybody who is either watching this on Facebook or any live viewers. So welcome all you Facebookers and all you live viewers, and also welcome everybody that's here this evening. So we want to this evening talk about What is the real ingredient? What are the things that we want to put in our kids to make sure that they observe what's going on around them and they choose a different path? And then in choosing a different path, they start to fit in because they're solving a problem that no one else wants to solve. And when they're solving that problem, they're going to see that they gain favor. When they gain favor, increase comes into their life. Favor is a thing that cultivates hope. When you have hope, do you want to do more of something or less of something? You want to do more. And then all of a sudden, it grabs you. And once it grabs you and you sink your teeth into it, there's absolutely nothing that can stop you. So I'm not controlling it from here. So Carl, if I do that, or, okay, awesome. All right, now, you probably can't read this, but we need to give some biblical foundational things for this. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. Very, very familiar. Train up a child in the way they should what? They should go. Now, our kid's going to go somewhere. But what did God tell us to do? Train them up in the what? In the way they should go. There are very specific things that we should be doing. And when he or she is older, they won't what? They won't depart from it. It's interesting how the Amplified says it, and it's the section in red. Teach him to seek God's wisdom. Part of raising your kids is to give them an appetite for the things of God. But if you're going to be hypocritical about the things of God, there was a situation just the other day, and somebody came over to our house who was incredibly passionate about God. They were on fire. They were just amazed that we prayed for my father-in-law. They were just amazed that, it was natural to talk about God, but we weren't, freaky about it. Now, I don't have a cause, but if there would have been wine bottles all over the place, if maybe one of the believers there who was going to pray just by accident had one or two too many, could that happen? Come on. Does God still love them? Yes. Are they still born again? Yes. But when are we going to stop what's legal and right for me and start thinking about the appearance of things? Maybe it really does matter to someone else to see the way you and I live our lives. Maybe it's okay for somebody to see, wow, nice house. I like his pool. You know what? It was even heated. Actually, it was a little bit too warm, but the grandkids like it warm. And to hang out and say, wow, this is just awesome. And we were just regular people who really loved God and weren't ashamed of the gospel. But we were different in our appearance. We were different. And what's really sad is that everybody wants to be a Christian today, but be like everybody else. So we're not going that way. We're going this way. And the very thing that God told us that will create our differences, we're not embracing. Because for some reason, we drank something that said, if I'm like everybody else, I'm going to make it. You know what? If you're like everybody else, you ain't going to make it. You're not. If you're like everybody else, you want really big government. I don't care what size the government is. I have a covenant with God, and me and my household are saved. I had a conversation with my brother, who my brother is just awesome. And so we were talking about haves and have-nots. And my brother made a comment about me, and I said, I don't see it that way. And my brother says, well, I see it this way about me because I think I'm a have. I said, I don't think I am a have. He said, that's crazy. How can you not be a have? We talked about it. I said, Bill, you know what? Whoops, you're not supposed to give names. My brother. Hey. I said, you know what? You know who the haves are? It's the people who establish policies. They're the haves. And then people like me, we just have to work around the people who create the policies. Isn't that interesting, though? Let's talk about Christianity. Has God created a protocol? Has God created policies for life? He's the have. But he said I was made in his image and likeness. I can be just like him, but I have to be different. I can't be the same. I have to choose to be different, and that is so fundamental. So in the Amplified, train up a child, same as in the the New King James Version, in the way that he should go. Teach him to seek God's wisdom and will for his abilities and talents. God, help me fall in love with this job. Help me like it. Help me like my boss. Help me like it. You know, the confrontations of life are there because God wants to manifest himself to you. You don't want them to go away. Do I want them not to be there? Yes. But is it an opportunity for God to show me something? Yes. Training, training, training. Next one, Carl. All right, we're not going to read this. Okay? All right, I'm not going to read it. You guys, if you want, I'll pause and you can read it. I'm not going to read it. All right, but this is Ecclesiastes chapter 12, which is the last book of Ecclesiastes. I think Ecclesiastes is an awesome book. It's awesome. Because Solomon said, man, I got so much money, I don't know what to do with it. He said, you know, before you finish your statement, I have the answer. God has given me so much wisdom. I have toiled. I have worked. I have this. I've given things away. I can see myself giving it to my children's children. And he said, oh, vanity, vanity, oh, this life is such a waste of it, because they're just going to squander it. Because they're not after the heart of what God has done for me. And because he recognized they didn't want God's heart, he said, life is terrible. I'm in this black hole of just nothingness. But he ends everything in verse number 13. That's the whole story, he said. That's it. All of us have an hourglass. You know, I mean, I want lots of more breaths. That's proper English, but I'm going to breathe one last one. And then it's going to be it. We all have an hourglass. Now, that's the whole story. Here now is my final conclusion. Fear God and obey his commandments. Fear God. How do you know you're fearing God? Again, does he have an opinion, and does it matter? And are you willing to alter maybe the way you're thinking or the way you're acting? And even if you can't alter it, are you willing to feel bad about it? Or are we going to be the type of Christian? And again, this is not the message on can you lose your salvation, because I said, dang, I can't teach on that. I don't know. But what I do know is if you are truly disappointed, when you believe you have truly disappointed God, you're probably born again. But if all of a sudden those requirements just vanish, how do you know if you're different? How do you know if you're born again? How do you know if God really, how do you know anything if there isn't even a standard? You need a standard. Pursue God and fear him. What I believe, like Mike Rose said, okay, this is my opinion. I'm a little bit nervous that at the end of my life, I may not want God. Because I know I'm capable. I know I'm capable of just getting turned off by all of it. And I'm a little scared about choices I make today. Are they going to be pulling me from God? Are they going to be bringing me toward God? So what is healthy for me? I don't want to be around people who are telling me it's okay. People telling me, man, I can't believe that you did that, Leary. That is just nasty. What are you doing? Because what I do is proof to me on what I believe. You understand that? You want guidelines. You want a standard. You don't want to follow the pack. Even economic, you follow the pack. The best you can rely on is your passion. Have you figured it out yet that your passions don't last? They don't. But what lasts is your appetite and desire to please. And what's the cornerstone of that? here is my final conclusion. Fear God and obey his commandments. For this is everyone's duty. God will judge us for everything we do. At the end of the day, who gives a rip what I think or you think? God's going to judge it. And if you don't believe that, then have a blast. But Romans chapter 1 and Romans chapter 2 says that when he breathed his life into you, we all grew up with an understanding of right and wrong. So God said, hey, look it, I'm sorry, but there's no escape clause here. Because when I created you, read the 2 chapters. When I created you, I gave you an understanding of right and wrong. You knew when you were really little if that passed the smell test or not. You knew it because you were convicted. But it's the lust of other things. It's listening to other people. It's saying, well, what's the big deal? Everybody's doing it. You water that down, and that very thing that God gave you to protect you, you pushed out of your life. And the smartest man that ever lived said, man, fear God. Fear God, because everything else is a waste of time. So I would encourage you to read Ecclesiastes chapter 12. So how do we teach our children a good work ethic? And I think it's important that we own that and we teach them. So let's break this down a little bit. And the very first point I want to give you this evening is you got to start really early. And these are really notes from Dr. Ruth Peters. I don't know Dr. Ruth Peters from, but what she wrote, and I assume she's a she. I know that it's getting a little bit more difficult to tell if they're boys or girls, but I'm thinking that Ruth is a girl, and I really liked what she said, and so I thought I would share these things with you. So she said here, and this is actually a quote, daily in my practice, I see parents who have made the mistake of not taking the time and attention to teach their children to be workers and achievers. Parents don't take time out to teach their kids to work and to achieve. Now, can you do that through sports and other things? Sure, but that's not the means to the end. The means, it's a means, but the end is you made a commitment, you're not quitting. You struck out 10 times. I hope you feel bad. That was really stinky. But I hope you feel so bad that you want to practice. And if you practice, because you're a shorty, if you practice, I guarantee you, because after you miss it 4 or 5 times, then it goes on a tee. Every kid can hit a ball off a tee. Now, maybe you can't just yet, but if you practice a little bit, you'll feel like you're pretty good. There's nothing wrong with training up our children to achieve something. These kids have learned to settle for less rather than to face and challenge adversity, to become whiners rather than creative problem solvers, and to blame others for perceived slights and lack of success. When your kid gets in trouble at school, you know who's right? Their teacher. You're wrong. Now, maybe as a sidebar, mom and dad can go 100 miles away and talk about that teacher and how they're messed up, but not in front of the kids. Stop covering for your kids, because before you know it, they're going to have a conscience, and they're going to have to make choices, and they're going to start to think that you're wrong. You know why? Because you've never sold for them to think that you're right. Because every time something happened in their life, it was always them. Support authority. You absolutely have to. And will God allow you to put that in your kids? Come on, he loves you. He loves them. He loves them more than you love them. So will God have opportunities where maybe the teacher was just wrong? Does God let that kind of happen so they can learn something? Yes. Yes. I don't think you change the shape of your body by looking at workout magazines. I think it happens by working out. I don't think you teach your kids life skills by having them watch movies. Junior, you flunked. Your teacher said you have to go to school on Saturdays. I'm sorry. the test was awesome. You failed. Now, we're not going to fail again, and I'm going to help you, but your teacher's right. This whole thing, no children left behind. What garbage. You tell me one person that ever made it in life because they lived a life of handouts. It does not exist. Training is being very deliberate. You've got to start early. So how do we start? Lay the groundwork. Good, thank you. Lay the groundwork early. Now she's using an example. When our 3-year-old begs to peel carrots and our 4-year-old pleads to sweep the floor, our tendency is to say, oh, you're not ready yet. Case in point, little granddaughter. Man, she is nasty in the kitchen. But you know what? She needs to learn. And if she has an appetite to pull up this little broom, which I would have never bought for her, but this little broom, and she loves to sweep, if I didn't encourage that and tell her what a great job she did, and once she gets distracted, I kind of circle back, okay? I have to stroke that desire for her to please. But you kill it when you think a kid has to be perfect. You do. Get them a broom. And then you know what? Then make it their job. Psychologists have said most kids run away, and the kids that do run away, the ones that do run away, when they circle back and they talk to them, they had no responsibilities at home. None. So even when they left, there was no conviction. Who's going to take out the garbage? I mean, our last, well, the daughter doesn't. So our last one to take out garbage is getting married in September. I've actually thought about, dang, I could take the garbage out. Because that's what he does. When we have people over, he carries the tables up. He carries the chairs up. I guess we'll have to get an elevator or something. Otherwise, I guess I'm going to have to do it. Or we're looking for a live-in. Just carry tables, carry chairs, take out the garbage. You know, basic stuff. That's a real problem you have to solve. But let them, you know, kids come out wanting to serve. But we kill it. We do. Oh, no, grass has got to be this way. You know, now we have our granddaughter lives with us. So Nani bought her gardening tools. Again, I wouldn't have bought gardening tools. Not for our 5-year-old. So we have 2 pots, and so we have flowers, and so we planted them a couple weeks ago. Every time Poppy comes home, did you water the oh, no, I didn't water them. Okay, well, we got those pots, and you've got to take care of those pots. So I have a dilemma right now. I can let them die, but that would bother me because I like flowers, and I think if I let them die, I don't think she's really going to care. But my point being is you have to bring them into life, and you have to teach them responsibilities. You have to. Let them sweep the floor. Our tendency might be, hey, they're not ready yet. But teach them when they're eager. And you'll be surprised what they're like when they're eager. You teach them those things. Next point. Accept what you get. When faced with less than perfect results, graciously praise the effort. How about if we get excited about effort? I'm talking about when they're little. Now, when they're like 10, 11, 12 years old, you know what? Effort is awesome. I know you went to school every day, but your grades are really nasty. Okay, so we've got to change it. You know, you have to transition from effort into results. Results aren't bad. Results make me feel good about my effort. Results make me come back. Anybody here play golf? Okay, so I'm talking to a group of 2, so it's a bad example. All right. Well, whatever you like. You may not be really good at what you like, but every once in a while you do okay with what you like. Does it make you want to do more of it? Yes, it makes me. But you have to nurture and cultivate this work ethic, and you have to do it in different ways in different phases of their life. For example, when 7-year-old Madison surprised her family by cleaning the windows, her mom ignored the smudges and the smears. We have a window washer in our house. But you have to encourage, I want to participate. I want to be valued. I want to feel like I'm doing something. What hard work, she said simply. I love to clean windows too. Next time, let's do it together. Now you can maybe raise the bar a little bit. Here, come on, let's sweep this section. When we do the windows, let's see this. But you've already grabbed their attention because they've shown you that that's what they want to do. Accept what you get. Know your children. There's a difference between a 5-year-old who doesn't know that the plates have two sides. I did this side, but not the other side. But when a 10-year-old does that, all right, they probably did that because they didn't want to do a very good job. So you have to know who you're talking to and at what level they're at. You sometimes praise and sometimes you correct or you instruct. Train up a child in the way they should what? Go. You're always training. One needs teaching, the other one needs what? Accountability. Come on, you know there are two sides to a plate. Get back in here and clean those plates. The 5-year-old just wanted to help. Okay, you're encouraging the 5-year-old. The 10-year-old, you're saying that's not the standard. Get back over here. Now, is it hard to get somebody to come back and circle back? Somebody said they hate confrontation. I hate confrontation with kids even. I don't like confrontation, period. Except God told me to train. Whether I like confrontation or not is kind of a moot point. God is holding me accountable to training and depositing in others. And as I do that, guess what? I'm going to recognize my own value. The other one needs accountability. Parents also need to know how to motivate each one of their children. We're all motivated differently. Young children are often motivated by praise. You're awesome. You're great. You're awesome. I mean, our little granddaughter who lives with us, the other day I asked her to do something. I said, can you help me do this? And she said, no, thank you. I said, wait, that's the wrong response. But she is being trained in being polite. She is trained in being etiquette. So it wasn't like, what do you mean, no, thank you? Get over here. She's 5. But at least she reacted and responded. I said, no, honey, here, Poppy wants you to help me do this. Oh, okay. But I kind of smiled when she said, no, thank you. They like to be motivated by verbal praise. Older children may need more. Maybe money, maybe privileges. You know your kids. You know how you're raising. You know how you're training them up. And should you expect the bar to be raised as your kids get older? Absolutely. But you don't raise the bar and not expect more. You don't raise the bar and expect less. You're spoiling that child. And arrested development all over again, and you're doing it to them. You're giving them some false sense of security where I'm entitled because I am. As far as I know, the Bible says there's only one I am, and that's Jesus. He's the only one who is, was, and forever will be. You're not him. And kids are happier when they're raised up in a way where they understand accountability and they understand laws of exchange. As long as the earth remains, there's what? Seed time and harvest. Train up your child in the way he or she should go, and when they're older, they won't depart. But training means that you are actively involved with doing something. It doesn't just happen. And it's not someone else's responsibility. If you're not training up your kids, you're missing out because you won't see your value. And you'll be some old guy, old lady, and wonder what happened in life because now no one wants to hang out with you. No one wants to hang out with you because you're not a sower. No one wants to hang out with you because you never did anything for anybody. Everything that you do in your life creates a cause and creates an effect. Teach delayed gratification. This whole immediacy thing, we struggle with it. Kids hate going to restaurants because you have to order. And then after you order, what do you have to do? You got to wait. And for some crazy reason, restaurants have a pace. They don't like give it all to you. They give you this first. Then they give you the next. Then they ask about dessert. And every once in a while, somebody wants coffee. And the kids were long gone. You know what? You need to go to a restaurant once in a while. Need to sit down. Need to tell them to put their electronics in their pocket. And when they're disruptive, you deal with it. Stop giving your 10-year-old, your 8-year-old, your whatever-year-old some pacifier and some electronic device. You do that because you don't want to train them. You do that because this is my time. It's not their time. That should bother you because you're creating a pygmy. You're creating a kid that just won't get it. There was something else I wanted to do tonight, but I decided not to. It's this whole millennial thing. You know, a bunch of bad parents. A bunch of bad ones. Real bad. And we had lots of bad parents, and so who's living the consequences of a lot of bad parents? We are. A person I've known for years and years and years in my business career. When the kids were real little and his kids were real little, I coached a sport and he coached a sport. We coached different ones. And it was at the end of the year, and it was the championship game. And at that time, his son was on this team, and they were 7 or 8 years old. He's got the whole team, and I would imagine it's some, penal institution on wheels, some big old huge van, loaded with kids. And he's trying to motivate them all. And he said, now, if we play really hard, we're going to get a trophy, and we're going to do this. And he hears his son in the back seat saying, man, his dad is saying, you got to work real hard. You're going to do this. If we really hustle, we're going to get a trophy. And his son says, man, I'll never get a trophy. Because what was associated with that is you got to work for it. I think it's okay to show grace. I think it's awesome. Thank God for grace. But I think the same Bible we're reading says that grace is based upon God. That's God. I thought that it was God who distributed grace. Now, if I want to talk about mercy, that's different. Mercy means someone really messed with you and you still cut them slack. It's our responsibility to train up our children. Teach delayed gratification. Establish a pattern. We work, and then what do? We play. Now, do you do that when they're 2 or 3? No, but you can take out 6 toys instead of 100 toys. You can at least kind of clean up the space and put things away so the next time they come in, you can at least train them, what's your favorite toy? Now, you can have 1,000 of them, but you can't play with 1,000 at the same time, even when they're really, really little. Our little granddaughter right now, man, she is just 13 months old, 14 months old. What a little personality. When she sees a phone, that's her phone. Right? And her will is already manifesting itself. Same with my will when I was a baby and everybody else's. But it's their job to train her up. Establish a pattern. We work, and then we play. You might say to your child, I know you want to go outside and play. Let's pick up these blocks and fold our clothes, and then we can, go out and do it together. Or let's get the house cleaned up, and then we'll make some popcorn and watch a movie. Understand what they want, but put something in front of them. It's not hard. If they really want something, will they do the doing? Will they? Well, if they don't, then they don't have much passion. But we were raised with passion, and it's our job to cultivate it. Passion is the I want. I don't know of anybody who's ever created that didn't have a want. And most people who give up in life, it's because they don't know how to make it happen. and they become hopeless because no one put something in front of them and said, you do this, and then we're going to do that. Teach delayed gratification. Equip them to earn. We were going over to one of the kids' house yesterday, and there was somebody who had a lemonade stand, a snow cone. And so what did we do? We made a U-turn. And, first thing I asked these little kids, I said, you take credit cards? No, sir, we don't take credit cards, because who has cash? I said, well, how much is it? And these little snow cones, I don't know, they're like $2 a piece. Now, I did say something probably wasn't right. I said to my wife, I said, man, I'm not eating that thing. Are you eating that thing? She said, I'm not eating it either. But we did pay for it. We did encourage them. We said, how much, money have you collected? They opened up their drawer. They had lots of singles, and they had some fives, and it was really awesome. But the little girl knew exactly what she was saving money for. She knew exactly what she wanted. And I don't know, Cindy, 7, 8 years old? The lemonade stand wasn't perfect. She must have gotten this ice-making gift. And all I'm looking at this thing is all the dirt around the outside. And then she picks up ice cubes and she puts it in. She presses the button. So maybe presentation, wasn't. That's why I said to Cindy, I said, you're going to eat this? Because I'm thinking, well, maybe I should get in faith. And she said, no, I'm not. And I said, okay, well, I'm not eating mine either. But they knew exactly what they wanted. You don't think that that's a life skill? Understanding cause and effect? Those kids have great parents. I have to believe that the person behind them was a dad. What great parents. And they had 2 of them at the corner flagging people down. No, they did. How awesome. Equip them to earn. Through the years, we've given our kids a base allowance, then awarded bonuses for work well done, and if they have a good, cheerful attitude. We've always encouraged them to find other ways to earn money. I'll give you your base, but if you want more, hey, maybe you could do this, maybe you could do that. And what is really interesting, and I know this causes us to engage, but remember God said what? Train up. You don't train subliminally. You have to be actively involved. These have included raising rats for, I don't think I would have done that. Paper routes, wood splitting business. What all of these ventures had in common was that they took an enormous amount of time and energy, mine and their dad's. It cost something. And we as adults are so self-absorbed. When 2 people love each other, talking about getting married, it's like, well, it's going to take 5 years. Why is it going to take 5 years? I thought you love each other and want to spend your life with you. Well, we have to save up money. Save up money for what? The wanting of more money or the needing of more money just never goes away. I'm 65 and it just doesn't go away. You always want more. I think that's holy. What isn't holy is it's mine. What is holy is it's God's. But that wanting and needing and thinking that you're not ready yet, it's called life. But feeling like you're ready is saying, I don't need a life with God. How many of you really feel like you're always ready for what you do? What's ready? There's another degree of ready. I'm not ready yet. How about tomorrow? I don't know. Let me get there. Maybe I'm ready. No, I'm not ready yet. Yeah. Would you launch? Hallelujah. And get into faith and believe God. But it's our job to put that in them. If you give it to them and there are no laws of exchange and they don't get it, how are they supposed to discover it? If your child wants to rake leaves, be ready to knock on doors with them. You go with them. Get some customers for them. If he wants to walk dogs, help them put something in a newspaper, make an ad. Be ready and willing to help your children start working. And you'll be amazed at the life lessons that he or she will learn. You launch them, they will learn things. But you have to be engaged. You have to be involved. Encourage volunteering. Today, volunteerism is trendy. It really is. Hey, I do this and I do that and I do that. Most people that talk about what they're doing just don't do it very often. And it's such a major event, they just have to tell somebody. That's not what we're talking about. Many schools require community work from students each semester. For Christian kids, volunteerism holds a special resonance as it meets the following Jesus' command to love and to serve. When your children are young, find ways to involve them in other projects of service. What is it doing? We're not going to do something where you're going to get something for it. We're going to do something where there's zero benefit to you, but it will benefit someone else. Get your kids engaged in those things. Let them help you deliver a meal to a new mom or house cleaning for an elderly friend. Have them doing things where they don't get, why do I want to do that, Mom? Why do I want to do that, Dad? Because it's the right thing to do, because they need help. I think it's the little things. And there are probably 5 things that if Cindy doesn't let me do them for her, I tell her. And I will even say, hey, honey, if you want to live your life by yourself, then make me feel like I'm not adding value. I open doors. I get doors. I carry things. What do I tell you I am? I'm your what? I said, honey, I'm your mule. And if you're not using me, I don't feel like you need me. So you know what? Honey, I'm sorry, but let me get your door. I know you can open a door. I know you can. But I need to make sure that I'm attentive to other things and the stuff that I like. Because I could be self-absorbed like the other. I could probably get used to being all by myself. But there's no increase in being all by yourself. There's only increase in hanging out with somebody. That's why we go to church. We go to church, why? So that we can serve the needs of others. And while you're serving somebody else's need, yours are met. So encourage volunteering. You do it because it's right. Get the door. Help this. Rake this. Walk a dog. Whatever it is. And the last point is, all right, take out the trash. Be a role model. Make sure that your kids sing this. So much of who our children turn out to be is a reflection not of what we're trying to pour into them, but it's what they see in what? What they see in us. Do you want your sons to grow up respecting women? Be super nice to your wife and let them see it and defer to your wife. Do you want your daughters to grow up thinking that God is going to put a superhero in their life? Well, then make sure you treat him like he's a superhero. I mean, I don't know where I got it. I just hope I didn't buy it for myself, but I have this T-shirt that is Mr. Incredible. I know I didn't buy it for myself. But Aubrey will say, Poppy, would you wear that incredible Superman shirt? All right, honey. I'll wear it if you really want me to. You put that in, kids. We got it so backwards. If we think we're going to legislate morality, let kids see morality. Let them see that Dad is just different than Mom. I was talking to, is Tom in here right now? I was talking to Tom, and he was telling Chris about his daughter. And Tom was saying, you know what, when it's me and Chelsea in the room, she just wants to be by Chelsea. But when I'm just in the room with strangers, my daughter likes being with me. And so I'm kind of listening to these guys, and I said to Chris, I said, hey, man, I'm cool with that. I mean, honey, they want you. I mean, that's okay. But the reality is I'm not supposed to think like Cindy. She's not supposed to think like me. And for us to think for a moment, we have to figure out how we think differently. Man, you're way too deep. Guys just think differently. You don't have to read a book. I mean, reading books is good. Don't misunderstand me. But we're just different. And girls, you're just different. Celebrate who you are, and he'll celebrate who he is. But in front of the kids and behind closed doors and how you relate as a couple, be committed to who you are and recognize that you're adding value in your uniqueness. You know, Pastor Rob has said this for years and years and years. If two are equal, then somebody's just not necessary. Celebrate your differences, but live your life in front of your kids. Allow them to see your frustrations. Put on the desires of your heart. Let them see you praying for the grandparents. Let them see why you don't do things and why you... If you're not willing to be different, you look like everybody else, and shame on you. If your kids don't see that, man, mom is different because, Dad, you just treat her different. I'm talking about in a good way. You know, kids should see that. I mean, if a mom is saying something bad about a dad and the kids hear it, oh, what are you doing? Stop. Stop it. That's wrong. Because it's your job to train them. And what they see is what they're going to learn. But along with seeing, there are specific things that we should be doing in training them. When they're real little, buy them a little broom. When they get a little bit older, expect a little bit higher standard. When they're little and they do it, say, I love doing that too. Hey, let's do it together next time. When they want to play, put in front of them, hey, I want to play too, but we got to get this thing done first. As they get older, circle back and inspect. And I think that's where a lot of parents fall short, is you don't circle back and inspect. So what you're saying is you don't have a standard? And if you don't inspect and say, look, I really need you to make the bed where we kind of like make it, you know, that comforter is supposed to end up in the top of the bed, not in the corner somewhere, and you don't just kind of push it. Come on, we didn't really make our bed. And then we wonder why millennials are millennials. Come on, shame on us. That's the generation I raised. These lazy kids everybody talks about, I raised 7 of them. These lazy kids, these millennials. Man, that's an indictment on me. Did they all go to college? No. Should they all go to college? No. That's crazy. Go to college with purpose. I went to college 6.5 years. And your daughter became a doctor after about 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, a few more than 6.5. But you know what I ended up after 6.5 years? I was a PE teacher. I wasn't super motivated. Did I really want to be a PE teacher? No, I just wanted to stay in school so that I could hit a ball. That's why I want to go. When finally they said, you can't hit a ball anymore, I said, why not? Well, because it's called eligibility. You only get so many years. Then I figured, well, I might as well end up with something. What are my options? Incredibly unmotivated. Now, that wasn't on my mom and dad because I had great parents. That was on me. But you know, I knew it was on me. I knew it. I knew I was messing up 30 years ago, 40 years ago. I knew I was messing up. I wasn't blaming anybody because I had parents that made sure that I was held accountable. Now, does that mean that I came out perfect? No, I didn't come out perfect. Did I make mistakes? Yeah, I made lots of mistakes. But thank God that the Word of God got a hold of me, just like each and every one of you. And what is the promise that God has given us? That if we raise them up in the way they should go, when they're older, they're not going to depart from it. And there'll be a day in your life when you'll hear your kids saying, man, my boss just gave me a promotion. I was just told I did a good job. And will they feel like they did something to get it? Absolutely. Will they start to understand the formula? Absolutely. And there isn't a greater reward than to see your children make it. But do you have a part of their success? Absolutely. You want to clean up somebody else's toilet stuff? I mean, Mike Rose said this guy has done really, really well, and he's incredibly passionate about doing something that no one would want to do because he went the other way. But in going the other way, you also have to recognize that you don't want to be like everybody else. And you truly understand the laws of exchange. If I solve a problem, I'm always going to have a job. I had a massive disagreement with my brother on minimum wages. I think minimum wages are a joke, absolute joke. And I'm not trying to be political, but to make someone think that that is a career is just wrong. And for me, that is people who want to use those people, and they're sticking a pacifier in their mouth and trying to make them think that they need them to get their minimum wages. Now, I recognize that not all of us had great parents, and we have a fiduciary responsibility, but it's still called training. It's not just giving somebody something and not training them in the laws of exchange. It still is the laws of exchange. But you know, that costs you something to do that, because it's a lot easier to have an opinion and way easier just to throw some money at something and kind of feel good about it. We're talking about training. But if you train them up in the way they should go, when they're older, what does God's word say? They will not depart from it. Do you have an absolute massive impact on the careers and futures of your kids? Absolutely. Would all of you die for your kids? Yes. But the thing that brings you the greatest pleasure is to see them latch onto life. And now they become problem solvers, not for themselves, but for someone else. When the kids start treating us, dang, that's awesome. We have a responsibility. If we embrace it, there's going to be a crown of glory waiting for us because we were Christ-like. And we wanted to be like him. And we wanted to make disciples. Amen? I must be out of time because I see 4 zeros and it must have just happened. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's for us in America not to make it, man, I'm telling you, I want you to go home and feel really bad if you think that you're on the downside of life. Man, get on your knees and repent and cry out to God. But choose to be a student. And show up to class. Spend time in God's word. And ask God to give you a desire for his things. You know, there are times in my life I have to pray to God about, God, I just don't feel like praying. I have 2 events that I do. There are 2 things that I do habitually every day. I do something in the morning. I've always done it. And I do something in the afternoon. And I will tell you right now, I'm struggling with just staying the course. Because those habits that I've embraced in my life, I'm not seeing the benefit right now. I'm just not. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that I'm kind of in the lust of other things. I would rather during that time be busy doing this or busy doing that. I'm not busy doing bad things. And so I've gone back to the simplicity of the gospel. Father, I thank you that I love you. I thank you that I desire to know you. Father, I thank you that my greatest desire is to please you. And I know me, spending time with you pleases you. Because I like it when people want to spend time with me. So, Father, give me that desire. Just give me that desire. Because you even having a desire to spend time with God came from him. There isn't anything in your life that you can do on your own. There isn't anything. There isn't anything. So even when you're in the doldrums of life, oh, God, help me. I don't like it this way. I like it when I'm on fire. I like it when I don't like going to bed because I'm so excited about what we're doing. I like that part. I don't like the part when I'm just tired. I just don't feel like doing that. Or, and can I do this for a while? Or, and you know, I have to cry out to God and ask God, God, I just want to please you. But you don't please God on your own. You please God because God gives you a desire to please him. And are there things that you can do to cultivate that desire? Yes, absolutely. And certainly one of those things to bring bookends to the tithe is the offering.